Yeah, and you should be happy as fuck.
What's up, my hippies? It's me, Emily, and today we're going to be talking about awkward dating stories. So around this time last year, I made a video called Single as Fuck and why I haven't been dating. And in that video, I had said that I had been single for 5 years. Well, I did the math, and at that time, I was actually only single for 4 years. This year would mark my 5th year of being single. So just to clear confusion, if anyone has seen that other video, I have been single for 5 years. And throughout those 5 years, I have dated around somewhat, and through dating I have had some really awkward encounters with people, and I thought I would get on here and talk about them. I just think it's helpful for when people are dating to kind of talk about stuff like this. The first awkward dating story that I have is not really about dating, but it's about my ex. But it is awkward. Now, him and I had broken up after about 5 years of dating, and we had lived together. So when we broke up, we still had a few more months left on our lease. We had to stay living together for those 4 months to finish off our lease. Really awkward as it is, right? So when he and I broke up, I moved into a different room of the house. He had his bedroom, I had my bedroom. They were actually right down the hall from each other. Really weird. And we had an agreement that if we started dating anybody or seeing other people, we would not bring them to the apartment. Well, my ex, being the lovely person that he was, decided to go against that and bring girls over on a regular basis. Now, I never actually saw these girls, but since my room was right across from his, I could hear women in his room, you know? I knew what was going on in there. I have ears. Anywho, that was probably the most awkward experience of my life, was sharing an apartment with my ex for 4 months and having to deal with him bringing girls over all the time. Would never ever wish that upon anybody. So the next guy I'm going to talk about, we're just going to call him POF guy. So I don't want to say anyone's names in this video just to protect their privacy, but I met him off of Plenty of Fish. And this was just a few months after I broke up with my ex. And since my ex was bringing people over, I wanted to at least talk to somebody and maybe start dating again and seeing how I felt about it, kind of just testing the waters. So I started talking to POF guy, and he was super nice. He was, I would say, about 8 years older than me. So I was in my 20s and he was in his early 30s. And he always asked me, like, is this okay? Is it okay that we have a big age gap? And I'm like, yeah, whatever, like, that's fine, you know. And he had a nice job, he had a car, he had his own place, which my ex had really none of those. But to me, he was an upgrade from my ex, so I was really enjoying talking to him. We had great conversation, we got along well. We talked for, I want to say, about a month to a month and a half, and this went back and forth between texting and calling, and we decided we were gonna meet up for our first date. So we decided we're gonna meet up at a mall. Whenever I meet guys online and I go to meet them in person, I always shoot for public places because you never know who you're gonna meet on the internet. Okay, so we chose to meet at the mall, and he was super nice, super friendly. We walked around the mall, we went into a bunch of different stores. We were having great conversation. We were having a great time, honestly. A really, really great time. He was fun, he was funny, and we both got along really well. So the date was going just fine until it was time for us to go and part ways. So he said he would walk me to my car, which was super nice of him. So we're walking to the car and he reaches out and just grabs my hand and starts holding my hand in public. And there's people like walking past us as he's doing this. So I didn't want to make it awkward and be like pulling away from him and causing a scene while we were around a bunch of people. So I kind of just dealt with it until we got to my car. And then I was like, thank you, like, for meeting up. It was fun, and you know, we'll plan something for next time. And we kind of just went our separate ways. But for me, him holding my hand on the first date was just a little bit, I don't know if that's normal for some people, but that's not normal for me. Like, I don't know, holding hands is not like a sexual thing, but it is like an intimate thing for me. So I don't just hold hands with anybody, you know what I mean? So I don't know, I was taken aback by that situation. Anyways, I chalked it up to just him being nervous, and maybe he hasn't had a girlfriend in a long time and he didn't really know what to do. So I was like, whatever, you know. So I continued talking to to him because he was a really nice person. I really enjoyed talking to him, and we planned a second date. And I was like, okay, the first date was great until he started holding my hand. Let's see how the second date goes, and maybe he won't be as awkward, you know? So we go out, we have lunch, and after we have lunch together, he walks me to my car again. And this time he leans in for what I thought was a hug, but he was actually leaning in for a kiss. And I turned my head and just gave him a hug, you know? Oh my god. I was like, this is our second date and you're trying to kiss me already. Like I said, maybe for some people that's normal, but for me, that's not something that I would necessarily do if I met someone online. Now, if I had known this guy for a long time and, you know, we'd been talking for a while and this was our second date, but we've known each other for a while, maybe that'd be okay. But like, I had just met this guy just like a week before. We only had started talking for about a month and a half, and he's already held my hand and tried to kiss me. I didn't really want to go on a third date with him, but I still continued talking to him. You know, I hadn't really had the guts to tell him about my feelings, and to be honest, back when I was that age, I wasn't used to setting my own boundaries and letting people know how I really felt about things. So I never ended up telling him that that made me uncomfortable. Now that I'm older, if that happened, I would definitely speak up about it and be like, hey, I don't like that. Can we not do that? You know, but I was young and naive and I just didn't like that situation. So I never ended up telling him about it. I did end up talking to him after that fact, and he invited me to hang out with him. He said he had no plans for the rest of the day and he wanted me to come up to his place and hang out with him. I had told him that I actually had plans with one of my friends and we were going to a bar that night. I said, hey, you're more than welcome to come with if you want. You can meet my friend, we can have a couple drinks and call it a night. So when I invited him, he suddenly had all these plans and he could no longer hang out with me. But I just thought it was ironic because he said he had no plans for the rest of his day and that if I wanted to come up there and meet him, that we could hang out for the rest of the day. And then when I told him that he could come down to meet me, he was so weird about it. And I'm one of those people that, like, if two parties aren't putting in equal effort, then I'm not interested. You know, I had already traveled twice to the town that he lived in for our first and our second date, and I invited him to my town, and for some reason he didn't want to go. So I just thought it was so awkward. Like, all three of the instances that I had with him were just extremely awkward. So I ended up ghosting him and never talking to him again, which I know that's not good, but like I said, I was young and stupid back then, and I didn't know how to talk about my feelings. And honestly, even if I did talk about my feelings, it probably wouldn't have changed my opinion on him. It just would have changed his opinion on me. So I will admit I could have, you know, left that situation a little bit nicer, but I was a little salty after the three instances we had together. Alrighty, so we're gonna call this next guy Tinder guy because I met him off Tinder. So I don't use Tinder for hookups. Like, I don't do that. I'm not down for that. I'm sorry. Like, I know some people are, and that's awesome for you, but I don't use Tinder for hookups. I use Tinder and POF and the Facebook dating app and all those things to actually meet people and actually talk to them and try to form a relationship. And it's very rare that you find people who are into the same thing. I meet a lot of guys who are actually into just hookups, and I kind of just stopped talking to them after a while. But this guy was different. I had been through about 3 or 4 conversations prior to him that all ended in them asking me to hang out with them like moments after we started talking, and I was like, we just started talking, like, I'm sorry. So meeting this guy, Tinder guy, I really had low expectations. I was like, whatever, I'm gonna meet him, I'm gonna start talking to him, and he's gonna do the same thing that the past 4 people have done to me. But he didn't. He was actually super nice, super sweet, but he went into gradual conversation. We talked about our past. We talked about what led us to this point and why we're on Tinder, and we had a lot in common. He eventually gave me his phone number so I could text him, which is always a good sign in my opinion if someone gives you their phone number after a couple of days of talking, of long conversations. So I thought things were going really well. This guy lived in a different city than me, so I would say about an hour and a half to 2 hours away from where I lived, but I was okay with that because I wasn't looking for anything serious. I was just looking for someone to talk to, maybe go on a couple dates with here and there and see how it goes. And he actually ended up inviting me to a Broncos game, and we started talking, I want to say about August to September, and the Broncos game wasn't until December. So I had plenty of time to talk to him and get to know him before the game and before I actually had to meet him. And we would talk every single day. Like, we would message each other every single day as much as we possibly could. So it was probably around November, and I was texting him that day and I never heard back from him, and I thought maybe he's just, you know, having a rough day. So then I waited a couple days. I texted him again and I was like, hey, I hope you're doing okay. I haven't heard from you. I hope all is well. Never heard back from him. And then, you know, I waited about a week or so and I realized that he probably was not going to message me back. And I really liked this guy. Like, I thought he was pretty cool. And then I go on his Instagram because we were friends on Instagram, and I see that he's dating some girl. Like, he has pictures of him and some girl, and I was like, oh, okay. So you stopped talking to me, and then a week later you're dating some other girl already, and you couldn't even have the decency to tell me about it. Like, we've been talking for months and you couldn't tell me about it. But like, I guess it was my karma because I did ghost the POF guy, so I deserved to be ghosted by the Tinder guy. But I was very upset about that situation. Like, it was so weird, and I do believe that he's still with the same girl to this day. And I don't know, the whole situation was just so weird. I didn't date for a while after that. I did not even get on any dating apps for probably about a year because of that situation. It was very interesting. This last awkward dating story happened just about a week ago. So if y'all didn't know, there's this new thing on Facebook called Facebook dating. Okay, like, who saw this coming? Who? Because I never saw this coming. But let me tell you, this dating site has been the best dating site that I've been on so far. Like, I've used plenty of Fish, I've used Hinge, I've used Tinder, but I've used a lot of dating sites, and I think the Facebook one has got to be my favorite. And I never thought I would say that. I don't know. So I'm on there my first night and I'm like, I'm not gonna find anybody because I never do. Like, everybody just wants to hook up. My typical negative mentality. Whatever. I actually ended up talking to about 3 guys. I messaged them, we matched and all of that, and I started talking to them, and all 3 of them actually were pretty cool. I was pleasantly surprised with all of them. So one of them in particular, we hit it off really well, and we started talking and talking and talking, and just like had so much in common. And you know, we were sending like long messages to each other, not just like one-worded answers or questions. Like, we were going into detail. And I'm very cautious about what I share when I'm on dating sites because I don't know who that person is, and I don't want to give out too much information about myself. So I was very vague in my answers, but I was still having a good conversation with this guy. He was super cute. He only lives like 30 minutes away from me, and he's right around my height, which I'm really short. So for me to find a guy that's like right around my height range is awesome. It's not that I don't like tall guys. I love tall guys. I like any shape, size of man, but it's just nice to find someone who is like equal level to you once in a while. So I thought he was adorable, and he loved animals. I'm vegan, so anyone who loves animals gets like an A+ in my book. I don't care if they're vegan or not. Like, if they have a love for animals, that's a step in the right direction, right? So he gives me his number. He asks me out on a date. He's like, how about we go to coffee or lunch on this day? And I was like, okay, cool. Like, that sounds awesome. I have that day off. Let's do it. I was so ready to meet him, you know. And I start texting him to plan out the date. And the first question that he asks me is, let's exchange pictures of our pets. And I'm like, okay. So on the dating app, you have pictures of your pets. I have pictures of my pets. So why would you want to exchange pictures of our pets if we already know what our pets look like because of the dating app? Like, I have pictures of me and my cats on there. That's the kind of dating profile that I have. So I just thought that was really weird, you know? And I was like, am I gonna get a dick pic or something? Like, what does he mean by pets? Does he actually mean pets, or does he mean like pets? Anyways, so I was a little nervous, you know, and I tried to find a picture that was pretty general of my cats, and I sent it to him, and I only sent it to him because he actually sent me pictures of his pets. And I was like, well, fine, you didn't send me a dick pic, I guess I'll send you pictures of my pets. you know? So I did. And then the next day I'm asking him how his day is going, and he's like, oh my God, I had to put my dog down. It's so sad. I feel so sad. And I was like, oh my God, like you just sent me a picture of your dog yesterday, you know? I expressed my condolences and said how sorry I was that he was going through that, and that I was there if he needed to talk about anything, because I know that losing an animal is really, really hard. And the message he sent me back was, thanks, I'm just glad that we could be together during this rough time, and he sent a heart emoji. And I tried to convince myself that maybe he was talking about his dog and him. Like maybe it was good that his dog and him could be together during this rough time. But the more that I read it, it kind of sounds like he was talking about me and him being together during this rough time. And I was like, dude, I have not agreed to any relationship with you yet. Like, we just started talking. Don't say we are together during this rough time. Like, I don't know, just something about the way he said it. And then I kind of like didn't talk to him for a little bit, and he messaged me. He's like, what about that date? Are we still on to get connected for that date? And I'm just like, the whole thing kind of just seems a little bit weird to me. And I'm a very intuitive person, so if something doesn't feel right, then I'm not one to really proceed with that. And I could be totally wrong, like maybe he's just really bad at wording things, and maybe he does mean well, but honestly I'm not willing to take that chance. Like, I want to make sure that I feel safe and that I'm not with someone who is gonna hold my hand and kiss me on the first and second date again. So I will have to message him back and politely decline his request to go on that date, because I've just no. Anyways, I know that some of these weren't actually dating stories about like going on dates, because let's be honest, I haven't done a lot of that, but I do think they're quite interesting and funny, and I hope that you guys can relate to some of them. Dating is really weird. I don't know, like I was talking to a guy about this recently, about how it's so funny how dating works. We just sit there and ask each other random questions and base our opinions off of those questions. It's like I ask someone what's their favorite food, and if they say pizza or if they say Chinese food, is that gonna deter me away from them? Like, I don't understand why we ask questions like that, but whatever. Yeah, I suck at dating, so that's why I'm single as fuck right now, and I don't know when I won't be single as fuck. But anyways, I am dating still. Like, I am trying to talk to a few different people and see where it goes. So I'm still out there testing the waters and getting comfortable with the idea of dating again. I have a lot of social anxiety, so it prevents me from doing things that I really want to do. But I am working on that with my therapist. So hopefully in the near future, you guys will get even more awkward dating stories from me. I'll let you guys know if they pop up. Anyways guys, I do appreciate you guys watching this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. If you do, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos every Friday. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.